Good morning everyone, welcome back. I've decided to come into my craft room today and work on the REDWORK. I had said in my introduction video that I was going to cover these with fabric off camera, but I never got back to it. And I've walked in today and I thought, what will I do? And I just felt like something, you know, mindless, that I didn't have to think too much. So I'm going to cover my cover for my REDWORK. So I thought I'll turn on the camera, have a chat to you guys and get this little job done. So I cut the fabric to size so that I had enough of a turned over edge, and I've just been sitting here peeling as much of this foil. Well, it's not foil, it's like a plastic sheeny thing they put over particularly cookbooks and children's books so that it protects the paper underneath from dirty fingers, moist, wet cooking fingers. So, yeah, I just thought I hope I got enough of PVA glue. I thought I'll just peel a little bit more off of it because it'll help the glue to adhere by not having it there. So I've done that. So now it's just a case of using my makeup mask spreading silicone edged tool and just smearing out this PVA glue or wet glue. You can use craft glue, but I find it dries too quick, you know, clear craft glue. So you don't get a nice even coverage. And you can't sort of fiddle around, you know, moving the glue around so that you've definitely got that coverage. So I tend to find that this type of glue is the better one to go with. If you were having trouble turning these edges over, you could use your craft glue because at least it grips quickly. But for when you're just covering in general like this, PVA glue is perfect. It's quite economical too. Some of those craft glues are getting expensive. I just don't know what the difference is between them all, and we'll never know. You just have to wonder sometimes, don't you? Okay. That's pretty good. This is really just to get rid of the book look. It's serves no other purpose really. We're not stitching onto it, or it's not going to be seen. It is really just to cover it with some fabric. There we go. I get very dirty fingers from this little exercise. There I go. Probably should get a wet ones out, clean as I go. Otherwise I'll end up in a hang of a mess. That should be pretty good. That is not going anywhere. Just get my scrapey tool. Can't hurt just to apply a little bit of even pressure over the entire page. And I know it's definitely glued. Okay. So now I can start turning in these edges. I'll put a little bit of PVA glue down, but then I might get a little bit of art glitter glue because that'll glue quickly. Otherwise I'll be here all day because I want to get on with having a think about the actual cover and how we remodel it for the new cover. I'm definitely going to do some form of decorative spine. So the original, look at this, it blooming breaks all the time. I put glue in there to hold it, and it obviously hasn't. Just get rid of the handle. And now I've got an itty bitty brush. I know they're not designed for vigorous gluing, but you have to wonder, that dragging across someone's face, that's bumpy, you know, vigorous. Okay. Lovely. Oh, that's good. I don't need art glitter glue. That's going nicely. That's not going to go anywhere. So now I just need to trim the fabric a little bit so that I get this nice turned edge. So there's quite a few ways you can do this, but this is the way that I seem to be doing it the last few years. Instead of doing like a book page, I cut out this little nick, but you've got to leave a little bit of the turned fabric. So you don't go right to the edge. You do when it comes to the edge near the book. And that allows you to, see the little turn? See how there's a little bit there? So then that gets picked up and dragged in. So you put a bit of glue in there. So you pick up that little edge and drag it in and tuck it down on both sides. And that makes sure that your corner of the book is completely covered, and it gets rid of the bulk that is often in those corners. I just wanted a sticky, gluey, messy project this morning. Just felt like something mindless. Got so much stitching to do that I was like, oh, I just want something simple. And I hadn't got to this little job, so I thought I'll turn the camera on. We'll see how we go for time, and I'm sure we'll be able to work on the actual cover itself. So that is nearly done. Just got a bit of glue on my mat there, so I'm using that to tidy things up a little bit and to glue this little corner. I can hear Fudge running through the house. He's doing his zoomies. I don't know if it's a sign of a happy cat or a sign of lunacy. I'll go the happy cat, because we quietly think he's a bit loopy. Okay, so let's glue that down there. That one can tuck in there. And then over it goes. Nice, simple and neat. Plenty of glue, so that should hold. That's going to be forever, ever glued. That's great. That'll make all the edges quite strong too, because when that glue dries, it'll protect the edges. So we need to pop our glue on this side. And here we go again. Boring TV for you guys. But I'm sure you're all sitting there doing your own thing as well. So we're just crafting. I think I'll just get enough out of this. I was thinking about the inside fabric. I probably don't need to glue anything down there because I can use a piece of embroidery to go there. So I don't think we need to do that. That'll get covered once I have something to actually go there that I've stitched. Okay, just enough glue. I do have another bottle sitting over there, but I thought there might be just enough in this one to get us through, and I can throw it in the bin. Can you hear that? Here he comes. Fudgy, puss puss. Like, I have two cats. Casper's the other one. And he just never talks. He's a quiet fellow. He just sits and watches. He's funny because Fudge will get quite agitated at times, especially if he can't get what he wants, if it's, you know, lap time or supper. Oops, now I've got glue on the camera. Yeah, so he'll meow and pace and carry on like a pork chop. And Casper just sits there, and he's also waiting for dinner too. So he just sits there and he's like quiet, just watching. And if I'm busy and I just can't get to Fudge, he gets more and more ramped up and gets more and more aggravated. He then gets louder and louder and pacier, and Casper's just watching. And then Casper will get up from the couch because he's been sitting the whole time. He'll get up from the couch, go over and just belt him one. You have to say, enough. It's quite funny. Fudgy will then chuck the poops, have a little sulk, and just sit there and glare at everyone. Casper will walk back to the couch and he'll sit back down. It's really funny. It's like this little hierarchy. You can do what you want to do until I tell you not to do it anymore. I think that's what goes on with my two cats. They're both Burmese. They're both getting up there in age. So I don't see that as much because they're not as active as they used to be. I'm going to be efficient and snip them all in one go. Oh, get sticky hands, guys. I've got glue everywhere here. It's all good. I'm nearly to the end of it. I have my husband's brother staying at the moment. He's down visiting his son and lives in a city nearby, so he comes into Brisbane and catches up with us and mates and then heads off to catch up with his son. And he's still in bed asleep, so is my husband, but I'm just not sure if he's a real early morning riser because he might just happen to appear at my craft room door. So he'll be coming up the hallway thinking, who is she talking to? Fudge will wake him. Okay. Got multiple things happening here in multiple orders, so just ignore how I'm doing this. As long as you get your folding in, it's all good. There we go. And can you hear him? Not the brother-in-law, the Fudge. Oh, he's a shocker. I'm going to take it as he's telling me a story and he's not being abusive towards me for not doing whatever it is he thinks I should be doing. Here we go. They're all done. Now I've got a gluey mess. But PVA glue is great really to work with. I never used to like it because it doesn't glue quickly. So being impatient, I would grab the clear craft glues. But I sort of started to understand over time that PVA is good because it gives us time that we can, you know, manipulate the glue to do what we need and then take our time, and it's secure and it's a better finish. It really glues things. So that's the purpose of PVA glue. When she glues, she's good. Oh, I've got it everywhere. Okay, that's my surface nice and clean-ish. All right, guys. I'm going to stop the video and I'll finish cleaning up my space here. Make sure I've got rid of all of that residue. And I will be back with the cover, and we'll start working on, you know, how we're going to make that piece come together. Okay, see you in the next video. Won't be a second. Okay, guys, I'm back. I've cleaned up my sticky mess, and I'm now thinking about this cover, this big piece that we've got from when I removed it from the original journal. So I want to cut it. So I've just got the cover here, and I laid it down to work out if I did cut it, where would I? And I've put a line through there. So I'm pretty positive I'm going to do that because it's going to become quite thick. So therefore I need to create a whole new spine piece. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to cut through, and then we'll come up with a brand new piece to be embroidered for the cover, and I'll be pretty confident I can use this piece for the back, so it will appear that it's the same but yet not. So I'm just going to take that one out of the way, and let's cut this one as well, and then I know they're both correct. So once again, lay my piece down and use fabric pen just to mark it so I know where my edges are, and just trim that off. So that gives me two independent, let's get rid of the book, two independent pieces that we can then have a think about decorating. I've really got no idea what I'm going to do. I think the first thing I need to do is find a piece of calico to go under all of this, because it's very soft and very delicate. So I need something in there. Plus I have holes here, so I want to put some backing in there. So where is my calico? All right, so let's just get ourselves set up here. And they should be both the same size, you would think. So I should be confident that I can cut a piece out for one. Just snipping at the edge here, you can't see it. I'm getting rid of that selvage. Okay. Being that the fold is over here, let's move my piece up a little bit so that I can utilise that fold and get a bigger snippet left over. I think that's pretty good. So let's just snip and rip. I'm making it a fraction bigger than what I probably need, because I can always trim it back, or I leave it. All right, so we now have our two pieces. Oops. Another scrap. It's like the endless supply of scraps. But I tell you, I'm surprised all the time with what scraps reappear in projects. It's unbelievable, actually. Okay, so the pretty big pieces now. I'll get rid of that one. And let's just get this laid down. This is going to be so much better. It's going to give my lace some integrity because it's actually attached now. Might just put some pins around. I'm sort of thinking maybe I camphor stitch it. I know it'll take me forever, but it will really blend the two laces together. Not the two laces, well, there is a doily and that, but the background and this, it really, you know, it'll hold the lace out as well in position. It won't sort of curl, and I wonder what that would look like, being that it is lace. I've never camphor stitched a doily in its entirety. I've always had fabrics in amongst it. Could put fabrics in amongst it, but don't know. I sort of love this design here. It's like gorgeous in itself. To go and baste fabrics all over it, I probably won't like it. Do I have something that could be a feature? Like something that could wind through here? Probably. Could probably find a floral something and embroider something through here. But if I can get my background fabric down, and we're calling this the background fabric now. If I can get that all, you know, one, as in all stitched together, I'm thinking, that's why I went quiet. I'm thinking, what else can I add to this? It's a red book full of red work, so really probably should have something red on it, but what is going to be my feature piece? It's like when we are doing journal making, we are making journal cards and tags, we always add a feature piece. And I'm just racking my brains. Do I have anything that could be... I do have that black printed embroidery. I guess that could be added. I don't know. Something will come along. At the moment, I've got plenty to do here by getting this all secure. Now I will do some invisible stitching because to have pins in my way is not very pleasant. So I will get some invisible stitches down. Okay, that sort of seems a bit wonky. I think that's a bit puckered up there. That's better. I guess as we work through this journal, I've got to create all sorts of pieces for it because we're nowhere near finished. There's lots of pages in there that needs something. So maybe a feature piece will come along. I don't know. I certainly have nothing at the top of my mind. I was thinking about it last night, and you know, I could add bits of red fabric in that, but I sort of feel like it needs to be something that, for example, the cover is radiating out from this side to suddenly start plopping pieces everywhere. I just don't think it's going to work. I could embellish the lace with red thread, but I don't think there's enough areas to embellish. Like you could come around these edges and things like that. I don't think that would look really nice. So I thought maybe if I camphor stitch it, that in itself gives a beautiful texture to it without, I'm going to do a little bit of invisible stitch while I sort of think about what I'm going to do. Yeah, the camphor stitch will give it a nice surface. There's a thread all ready to go, so we'll use that in a minute. Yeah, I'm definitely going to camphor stitch it because I think that'll give a nice quilted, and it laminates, for want of a better word, it laminates the surfaces together. Might start down this corner and get this lace pinned down. Now I can get rid of a pin. So for those of you who are new, and I get quite a few questions about what is this invisible stitch that everyone talks about, once again, it is just a tiny little stitch on the surface. I'll zoom in so you can see. So it's just a tiny, tiny itty bitty stitch that you can barely see, but it's just enough to catch it. But on the bottom, we're going to jump that far, you can see the distance there, to catch the lace over here now. But up the top, when we go back down, it's a tiny itty bitty stitch. So that will hold. Well, it didn't actually, because I was so tiny. That will hold that lace down now in that corner. So now I'm going to jump from there and come up here to catch this little edge here. And then down it goes, tiny little stitch at the top, and then I'll head in another direction. Now you can be methodical and do just lines. Sometimes I do, especially if the piece of lace or doily or whatever it is that I'm stitching down is quite fine. It might need, you know, methodical lines of stitching, kind of not, to get it to sit properly. But now most times let me just get that back into shot. Most times I just scoot around and go wherever I need to pop a stitch. So I'm going to go along this bottom edge, but I'm going to jump from side to side and just get my stitches in to hold it. And that's it. So real simple. I could make something independent to the cover that goes around. Like when we make an envelope journal, there's always layers and layers of envelopes that come around to the front of the journal. Because remember, this has paper involved in it as well, this particular project. There's paper elements. I could make a smaller wrap type cover that has the red in it. Then you peel that back and it shows this neutral piece underneath. That way I don't have to do anything to this other than just camphor stitch. And all of the decorative element that screams that it's a red book is actually a flip on top of it. I like that idea. Maybe, here's another idea, maybe that piece that I'm describing becomes the closure. Now we're talking. Where's that piece of calico that was a scrap? So I'm just ending off this piece of cotton. So some nice mindless stitching coming for me. I love it. Oh, you're not even on camera. Let me come up a little bit, guys. Whoops. Okay. So I'm just thinking, let's pretend for a moment that this is probably a bit bigger because, oh, maybe not, because then we'd see the doily, the star of the doily coming out from behind. If I go bigger, you won't see any of it until it flips open. So maybe this is the right size. Yeah. And then maybe we come up with an edge here that has something on it that attaches a tie to secure the journal. I'm liking that idea. This is not quite dry, but so the cover is sort of a lot smaller than what you think because all of that is just excess flippy floppy, you know, that's all hanging over. The camera is shocking. Let me bring it up a bit further. There we go. So the journal itself is only that big. So now we've got our proportions a little bit more obvious. I'm thinking we create maybe a snippet roll type piece. That way I can get in amongst all those bits and pieces that are left over and piece together something that would suit. I might make it so that, let's start with just this piece, for example. I like the size. I like the size because I can still see the doily underneath. And then when this comes off, we could even attach it here so that it never, you know, falls away from the journal, but it is the closure for the journal. Then we can always add another piece onto here when we know how thick that spine is going to be. And then around the back we come with the other side of it. And then the two come together here with something to create the closure. I love it. That's what we're going to do, guys. So this is going to end up being a snippet roll, a snippet, bits and pieces with an explosion of red. And then that is in turn going to be the enclosure There we go. We have a plan. I just knew I couldn't come up with something that could sit in amongst this without drawing away from what it is, because I really liked it when I first created it. I just didn't like the way it was created. I just felt like I wanted the book to feel a little bit more wholesome in my hands when I picked it up. And I think it's because the fabric, this was too thin. If I had have probably put this, then the calico, maybe some felt or some blanket, then another piece of calico, then stitched it all together, that would have felt like a decent cover. But because I'd use the doily only, I can't thread that needle. Can't see for looking. Because I use the doily only with this little guy on it, it just never felt like it was had integrity. Does that make sense? Oh, that's a thread from the calico. I went to knot it and it just disintegrated in my fingers. And I'm thinking, well, cotton shouldn't break like that. And that's because it's a thread from the calico and not from the reel of cotton. Oh dear. I'm heading out to some friend's place for dinner tonight. So this will be good. I can take this and just sit there on the couch and mindlessly stitch while we all chitty chatter and watch a silly movie that the boys will pick. And my friend, she will be crocheting and I'll be sitting there slow stitching. So this is good. I've got a nice little project to take with me to keep me out of trouble. Get all this lace secured. I'll feel a lot more comfortable running some canvas stitch through it all to really secure everything. It gets rid of those pins. It becomes a nice mushy piece of fabric then that I can have on my lap. Don't need to worry about dropping pins down their couch. So funny, whenever you visit someone and you take needlework, everyone, sooner or later, someone will say, "Don't you drop any needles in our couch?" And I sit there and go, "No, never happens." Otherwise, I'd never get invited back, would I? So I've got to be a bit careful, but I try and take with me the bare basics so that way I know what I came with, I'm leaving with, and everything is okay. And I'm not leaving in the couch pins or worse, needles. Okay, so that's the pins gone down from that edge. All right. So I can feel it's a bit whoopy through here, so I'm just going to focus on that area now. Then I might leave you because this is a boring viewing. And I can hear my husband is up and in the shower getting ready, so those two boys are going to appear any minute. It'll be time to have some breakfast. So I will leave the project where we're at here with you guys. Start running my canvas stitch, and I'm just going to use some crochet cotton that I've got. Get that all laminated together so it will not go anywhere. That'll give it a lot more substance to the fingers. My phone's pinging. There we go. That is not going to wriggle. That's really good. So another name for this is tacking, basting. But lately we're all calling it invisible stitch. That's probably why a few of you are going, what is invisible stitch? Well, it's just tacking it down, guys. It's funny how these stitches change names, or techniques change names, but we've all been doing it for years. It's just the new name for the, well, not new century, but you know what I mean. The new decade. It's all the same. Nothing's changed. It's just a needle and thread. I suppose if I make something in the next, coming weeks for the rest of this year that is suitable as a feature piece here, like something semicircle or something, as the flip, the tie, we'll call it the tie, flips back, you'd see a little pop of something in there. So who knows what will come of it. But I think we're on the right track. I'm really happy with that. Plus it gives me something else I can make for the journal. Okay. All right. Okay. I'll keep going. I can't hear them yet. Let's keep going. They haven't come down yet. Let's secure. I might just sneak through this zone here. I sort of feel like that's wriggling around a little bit. So what are you guys all working on? What's on your desk at the moment? Are you working on a journal, or you're sewing, or you're hand sewing? Are you quilting, card making, beading? There's all sorts of things that appear on our desks. Okay. Now, if you remember, pre-Christmas, our house got broken into. And they didn't get a lot, but they got all of my costume jewellery. Just years of, since you're a little girl, when you have that first set of earrings or the first necklace, all those sorts of things. Well, it was all in a drawer underneath our bed, and I just had a towel in the base of that drawer, and I just laid everything out in there. So if I did want to wear something, I could at a glance just sort of see what was there. Because for years it was just in boxes around in the cupboard. But when we changed our bed and got one with drawers underneath for storage, I thought, oh, perfect place to put that type of thing. Anyway, they've come in and they've stolen my pillow slip and filled it full of all of my costume jewellery. And I sort of wasn't too concerned. I was like, oh, well, yes, it's some memories, but not like gifted jewellery. That was all nice and safely tucked away, so they never found that. But I was just thinking, what was in there that you just don't get back? It's the pieces you create. When you go somewhere for a holiday and you might find a bead shop. So all the girls might get together and you go and do a little lesson on how to make, a bracelet or, all of those types of things. That's what I've just sort of realised was in there that, and because they're pieces that I made as an adult, they're often pieces that I would pick up and wear because they match, outfits that I'm sort of wearing now as an adult. And just to throw on a beaded piece that you've made in a class, you know, it's just memories. That's what I'm missing. There was one style of bracelet we were all making there, and it was the coiled wire that you would just thread multiples of beads on. So we were making them all the time, and I had a few of them, and they sort of all just sort of matched general clothing. You know, like I had a teal one, blues and teals, and I could pick it up and put it with so many blouses because I wear a lot of blues and teals. Then I'd have a pinky coloured one and an orangey coloured one. So we're talking primary colours that were a collection of glass beads and pretty decorative beads, just gorgeous beads. And all twisted onto that coiled wire. They're missing, they're gone. And I went to grab something to put on with my outfit today, because after we film this, we're going to head out and do a few errands and then eventually end up at our friend's place. Well, I went to think, oh, I'll put on a beaded bangle, you know, just something simple. Casual is probably the word I'm looking for. And that's when it hit me, oh, they've got it. So, yeah, just feeling a little disappointed in society at the moment. And at this stage, now that's happened probably a month and a half ago, I hadn't really thought too much about it. And I was like, oh, well, you know, a bit blasé. It's only costume jewellery. That was my little mantra. It's only costume jewellery. But this morning was when it like, oh, that turquoise. Can you see from my blouse? I'm wearing a very bright coloured blouse today. So I was going to put some beads on my wrist. I wear a lot of wrist things. I don't wear many necklaces and earrings and things like that. But I do wear things on my wrist. I think it's because I can see them, so I enjoy looking at them. Excuse me. So I've gone to my wardrobe, grabbed my shirt, and I'm like, oh, I'll put something on beady, you know, whimsical jewellery today. And they're gone. Isn't that sad? Something that means nothing to those three lads. Absolutely nothing. And are they that silly that they didn't realise, oh, that's all just beads and stuff, and would have just left it? You'd think they'd be looking for gold and things that they can melt down and turn into gold nuggets and sell on the black market. I don't know how it all works, but that's how I suspect they're moving gold jewellery, because it's pretty easily tracked if someone spots you selling it on Facebook. It's got to go somewhere. And someone was saying, one of the neighbours, that the trend now is they melt all of our gold jewellery down and it becomes, what do they call them? Ingots? Not nuggets, ingots. And then they can easily sell ingots. You know, you buy a chunk of gold. Well, you're not buying a piece of gold necklace that belonged to someone. So it's just not traceable. So one of the neighbours was saying that's what they're doing. So all my beads would be nothing. Well, they're bozos, aren't they? Anyway, I'm not going to focus on it. I'm going to let it go. I'll just have to go on a holiday to a little beach town where I can find a bead shop, do a course on making something, and start rebuilding my beaded pieces of jewellery. But it's very disappointing because sooner or later someone breaks in and takes it anyway. So, I don't know. I'm getting very cynical, guys, as I get older. Precious things are taken from us by little thugs. You start to get a little bit... And as I said to the husband, I said they came into my craft room and they took nothing. They stole nothing. And I have just as much fun, love and admiration for this room and what's in it and they took nothing. So I might just go buy a doily at an op shop instead, because I can guarantee they won't take it. I'll beat them. Oh dear. Okay. I might leave it at that, because if I get too carried away, I won't be able to come back at the end of this video and show you it all canvas stitched down. You'll have to wait for a whole new video to pop up. And I'd like to show you the process finished. So I want to allow a few minutes at the end here so that I can come back and say, hey guys, it's all stitched down. Probably be a week or two in between videos, but we have a plan and it will come together. I've still got a lot more invisible stitch to do here, because that'll really just make sure that that sits nicely. And then we've got a plan for the wrap, so I might pop that in my bucket of tricks to do with the project, because that's for another day. Put that away. And then tonight or today I can throw this in the car, and whenever I'm sitting and waiting or sitting and watching, yeah, that's good, that's not moving, I can carry on with that. So I'm going to need my cotton, which is not much on that roll. I better grab another one. I'm going to need my sewing machine cotton, my needle, which I've already lost, there we go, that one there. I think that's it. Little pair of scissors, and we're ready. Okay, excellent. All right, guys, I will see you in a moment, but probably a week will go by and I'll have this all stitched down, and yeah, we can start thinking about something else in the journal. All right, guys, see you all soon. Bye. Hi, guys, I'm back. I have finished camphor quilting my pieces, and I added more pieces, and I've sort of decided that I'm not going to use them on the cover. The main reason is they are still too big. I can trim them down a little bit, but I would need to trim them. Let me take the camera up. I would need to trim them down a lot. So if I flip the cover over, you can see how much excess I have. And then when I realized that I was still not the right size, and that having it hanging over wasn't really what I was looking for, because I've still got that flopping around, especially when it sits on a bookcase. So even if that was the shelf, that's too much to hang out the top. It just, I don't know, it's just not quite right. So I kept camphor quilting. I kept going, and what I've got now are two pieces that have been completely stitched. I went right to the very edge because the plan was to trim that back, but by the time I got that piece of lace to sit properly, it came out to the edge anyway. So it was like, well, where am I going to cut? I even considered that if they did go on the cover, could I turn that under and make a tuck or a pocket or something, but it's too bulky. It probably would work, but it's probably not wide enough. And in the end, I was like, no, it's just not meant to be. This cover is just not going as I had planned. So then I started adding some additional pieces of lace. I thought, well, if you're not going to be, you know, a cover for the Red Book journal, you might be something in the future. So I finished camphor quilting this piece and then added these two doilies as well. So that's where I'm at. I've achieved basically nothing, but I have achieved two bases for something in the future. So I'm just going to pop them away in my stash, and we'll see where they pop up again. I'm sort of, as I walked into the room to film this few minutes at the end of our video, I sort of felt like they might end up with the William Morris project. It had some areas of plain neutral colours within it so that I could do some work like made those birds and things like that. If you don't know what hang I'm talking about, go to the playlist, have a look at the William Morris series. I did a slow stitch piece as well as a junk journal using the whole William Morris theme. And yeah, I'm wondering if these go and sit with that piece of work, and they become projects using William Morris fabrics and doing something, you know, decorative on there. I don't know. Who knows? Doesn't matter. All I know now is I'm back to square one and I need to create a cover for my REDWORK journals. So stay tuned. Episode number 3 in the dramas of the REDWORK. All right, guys, look after yourselves. Have a great day. Enjoy your stitching if that's what you're planning to do today. Otherwise, just have a great day. Bye for now.